want to do is launch I want to make sure everybody's had time to get pen and paper. And I'm going to go ahead and launch our first survey, our first poll. It is anonymous, so you can definitely answer, straight up, just answer. First one is white supremacy the only form of racism? Is white supremacy the only form of racism? We have, 68 people participating. All right, so we have 49 people who have answered. 57 people have answered. Want to give you 15 seconds. We want everybody to participate if you can. That would be great. I'm gonna end this poll in just about 5 seconds. And then I'll reveal the results. And then this is gonna lead us into our discussion. All right, so based on the poll, 11% of you all said yes, that white supremacy is the only form of racism, and 89% of you all said it is not. I want to make sure that we all start on a foundation of understanding before we start the session. And white supremacy and racism are synonyms. They mean the exact same thing. There is only one form of racism in this world, and that is white supremacy. A person can be biased. That's not white. A person can have prejudices. We see interracial prejudices where we talk about light skin against darker skin, and even in various cultures you have the exact same prejudices based on skin color, but the overall umbrella is white supremacy, which is racism. So it's not white supremacy or racism, or white supremacy and racism. And one of my mentors, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, Redelia, would you place her name in chat, please? Very well-known African-American psychiatrist whose work as a scientist was on white supremacy, which is racism, was never refuted by all of the many intellectuals and scientists, and all of her work was based strictly on science, DNA, those facts. And here, let me share the results of that. So I want to go ahead and share just a very short video of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and then we will move on into our bigger discussions. But as I said, I like for all of us to start out foundationally with the same understanding, so you know where all of the training is coming from. Is that okay? You can give a thumbs up. You can use your reactions as well to signify. And as I said, we will, again, only white people can be racist. Other cultures can push forward a white supremacy agenda. We see that quite often. But that is, those two words are synonyms. All right, so let me introduce you to Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. In fact, how many of you all have ever heard of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing? You can use your reactions. You have reactions in here, or you can put it in chat if you have ever heard of Dr. Welsing. Anyone? Only one person. Well, those those who have not heard of her, I do recommend that you look up her work. And it is about knowledge, because all of us have been culturally conditioned to believe the Western standard, which is white supremacy. This country was founded on white supremacy. Throughout the Constitution, even, the American song. But it's about learning. We've been taught a lot of false history, and we need to learn real history so that we can make educated decisions as we move forward. All right, so let's listen to Dr. Welsing. Let me find. I think the clip is maybe 4 minutes, but she speaks about, and she was a excellent analyst, if you will. Let me share she was an excellent analyst of this. And, as I tell everybody, this space is to drop nuggets of understanding for you. And when we talk about the agenda for today, we're going to talk about racism, white supremacy. We're going to talk about the distorted American history, which we're talking about now. Going to give you an opportunity to take the white privilege test. It is online, and it's really quick. We'll come back and discuss that. Then we're going to talk about Roe versus Wade, in that it is definitely a victory for white life. We're going to dig into that and how that also feeds into the umbrella of white supremacy. And then you will have an opportunity to ask.
I plugged in and I saw the juice flowing, so I said, I need.
You will be able to ask questions, questions you always wanted to ask. I'm also going to show, we're going to have a discussion about conformity, as well as they call it where you look away, right? Just not paying attention. Well, just really looking away. We're going to talk about all of that and how that plays into the psyche of how we move as people. All right, let's see if I can cue Dr. All right, I'm going to share my screen. And the reason I want you to make sure you have your pads out, so that if you have any questions, we can definitely. Can everybody see the screen, Redelia? Can you see my screen?
Yes, good.
You have to understand specifically what you're dealing with. And without the specific understanding, there cannot be. This is just like in a war. Until you understand the exact nature of the war, what is the war fundamentally about, you can't really design strategies and tactics. And so we are not going to be able, this is why if we look back, things look worse today than they did 50 years ago. You see, because we're not dealing with an analysis. We're dealing with, telling people not to kill each other. We're not dealing because we're not allowed to talk specifically about racism, white supremacy. My purpose as a psychiatrist in talking about this and making an analysis of what we are specifically dealing with is like any other thing in medicine, that you don't just deal with the symptoms of a problem. You have to wonder, well, what is the disease base that the symptoms are a reflection of? And what we have is blocking a discussion. Any in-depth discussion of racism, white supremacy. I mean, I'm the only psychiatrist in the United States that has been talking about racism, white supremacy for 40 plus years. I'm the only psychiatrist in the world that is talking about it. Do you see? Because it's like there's a block on, we are not going to talk about it. We can talk about the symptoms. We can have all kind of people come on TV and talk about the symptoms. But we are not going to talk about the problem of racism, white supremacy, because that's the behavior on the part of people who classify themselves as white. And so they have a wall of protection, a steel iron curtain around that specific discussion that gets into what is the white responsibility for the behavior activity that we see on the planet. But I say that those people who are sincerely interested in solving the problem, they have to go in depth to the analysis. And when the Attorney General said, are we a nation of cowards, being unable to talk about racism? And the answer to that has to be yes, we are a nation of cowards, but we can try to find the courage. If I could wave a magic wand, you see, you would have many people who classify themselves as white having the courage to talk about it, as well as black people and other groups of pigmented people being able to talk about this. But there are consequences to be paid, do you see, for going into this no man's land, or where this is not supposed to be discussed. But we are not going to be healthy, functional people, mentally healthy people, until this can take place.
And that's why it is so important for us to have these type discussions, so that we can discuss facts and discuss what we have been taught, and then discuss how we can be individually part of changing things. So my next poll, anyone have a comment or question about white supremacy and racism being synonyms, or about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing? And again, there is a link in chat for you to check out Dr. Welsing. And again, the purpose of the nuggets that are being dropped here today is for you to do your own research. It's totally up to you. And the space, we have a very diverse group, and I want to thank each one of you who have come into the space. And just know that white supremacy, racism, is not our faults. This is what we have been born into. We've been culturally conditioned for this space, culturally conditioned where we've been taught that white is superior and anything that's non-white is not. And that is such a lie. And it is up to us to understand that, recognize it, and then move forward accordingly, and recognize that, we are all human, period. And the color of our skin is just part of the uniqueness of us. Our cultures, our heritage, all of that is just part of us being unique. And when you really look at DNA and science, we are 99% exactly alike. There's only 1% about us that's different, but yet that 1%, which is race, which is a made-up construct. Race is a made-up construct that was invented to support white supremacy, period. And then the history, the Civil War, that history, all false. False in the intent of it. I mean, I don't know any other country that would allow folks who attempted to overthrow the country would have monuments erected all across the country. But we're going to talk about that as well. So,
If I may,
sure.
if I may, this is Matazapa. One thing that I did take from Frances Cress Welsing was that she made a powerful statement. Frances Cress Welsing made a powerful statement when she said that there's a war going on, and we're at war, but we don't understand that we're at war. And until we understand that, we won't know how to prepare ourselves to fight it.
Exactly, and that is
And
why.
so I thought that was
Oh yeah, most definitely. And if you look at her work, which I hope that this session will encourage you to look up her work. The other doctor that worked with her, Dr. Neely Fuller, he clearly tells us that until we understand white supremacy, and this is not just for blacks, it's for whites who really are humane, right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about looking away. We're going to talk about that before we get out of here. But, all of this is understanding, right? Because we all have been culturally conditioned for where we are. Now, once you have the understanding and know the facts as a white person, if you continue that white privilege BS, then you're part of the problem. Black folks, once you understand what we're working with as far as white supremacy and understanding when you see it and having tools to actually fight it, not just protest and talk about it, but actually do something about it. And all of us can work together as team players to make this happen. And we'll get into that a little more. All right, thank you. Any other comments? Can you please put that in chat? Okay, well, Elizabeth, white supremacy, Redelia, will you look up Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's definition? It's on the Cress Welsing Society's website. And put it in chat. So, and I'm going to tell you all straight up, right? When I give you information in this space, I'm already doing work for you that I'm not even obligated to do. I'm trying to help you. So if I'm telling you this information, use your fingers. All of us have a big fat phone in our hand. It's one of the most sophisticated computers on this planet. You can type in it and find out anything you want to know. White people, if you want to know about the black culture, you can look it up. You can look it up. It's not up to black people to teach you. I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart, honey. Just keeping it real. And just so all of you all know, my great grandmama Caucasian, my great grandfather Cherokee Indian on the Dow's Road. So my family is the United Nations. I'm accustomed to being around all type of people. My friends are all type of people. So the nonsense that because somebody is white and that is a recessive gene, keeping it real if you want to talk about science. So in understanding that, only thing we should be concerned about is truly, I know this is a cliche, is the content of a person's heart, their energy. If a person is good, they're going to be good, period. If a person is ratchet, wicked, evil, they're going to be that. You can't place that on just a person because of the color of their skin. All right, I'm going to keep it moving.